Hello, my name is Anne. I am a student of English. I want to tell you about my journey, how I do English speaking practice every day. My journey is not perfect, but it is real. I hope my story will help you, just like it helped me. I used to stay quiet in class because I was afraid to speak in English. Now I speak with confidence, even with strangers. Want to know how I did it? My name is Anne, and this is where my English speaking journey really began, inside the quiet walls of my own room. I was 15 years old, and even though I had studied English in school for many years, I couldn't speak it. I knew the words. I could understand some things when people talked slowly, and I even got good grades in my grammar tests. But when someone looked me in the eyes and asked me a question in English, my mouth froze. My heart would beat faster. My hands would get cold, and I would just smile or nod. I wanted to speak, but the words felt trapped inside me. It was like they were hiding in a locked room, and I didn't have the key. One day, after school, I came home feeling embarrassed again. My English teacher had asked me to stand up and say one sentence in English. Just one sentence. And I couldn't do it. I stood there in front of the whole class, my eyes on the floor, my voice stuck deep in my throat. I remember the silence. I remember my classmates looking at me. They weren't mean, but I could feel their eyes, their curiosity, their confusion. After that moment, I went home and sat quietly on my bed. I looked around my room, the place that felt like my small, safe world, and something inside me whispered, "Try again. Try here." I stood up, walked to the mirror on my closet door, and looked at myself. It felt strange, like I was meeting myself for the first time. My face looked nervous, but also curious. Could I really speak English here, just to myself? No one was watching. No one would laugh. No one would correct me. I took a deep breath and said, "Hello, my name is Anne." It was just one line, simple and short, but I felt a spark inside. I smiled and said it again, louder this time. "Hello, my name is Anne. I am a student." My voice felt small at first, like a soft candle in a dark room, but I kept going. "I live in a small town. I like books. I have one brother. I go to school every day." I started to talk like I was introducing myself to someone new. I told the mirror about my school, my family, my favorite color, my favorite food. I made mistakes, but I didn't stop. I didn't feel scared because the only person listening was me, and the person speaking was me, too. That night, I practiced for 10 minutes. Then the next night, I did it again. After 1 week, I had created a new habit. Every evening, before bed, I stood in front of the mirror and spoke in English. Sometimes I told my mirror what happened in school. Sometimes I acted, like I was giving a speech. Other times I asked questions to myself and answered them. I began to realize something important. The more I spoke alone, the less afraid I felt. I didn't need a big classroom or a perfect partner to begin. I just needed my own voice and a little courage to try. When I made mistakes, I corrected myself gently. When I didn't know a word, I used a simple one instead. I started learning to speak with the words I already knew. I didn't wait to become perfect. I just spoke. Slowly, the fear inside me started to fade like the sun going down after a long day. My room became my speaking world. I called it my English corner. I even put up small sticky notes on my wall with English words and phrases. "How was your day?" "I feel happy today." "Let's go to the market." Every time I walked into my room, those phrases greeted me like friendly faces. They reminded me to practice, to speak, to keep going. Some days I felt tired, and I didn't want to do it. But I told myself, just 5 minutes. And most of the time, once I started, I didn't want to stop. I also began to act out little scenes. I would pretend I was at a restaurant, ordering food. I would say, "Hello, I would like a cheeseburger, please." Then I would pretend to be the server and say, "Sure, would you like fries with that?" I had fun with it. It felt like a game, but I was learning something real. My mouth was learning how to move. My brain was learning how to connect words quickly. My heart was learning how to stay calm. Every small practice session gave me a little more confidence. After about 2 months, I started noticing a change. In school, when the teacher asked questions, I didn't look away. I didn't raise my hand yet, but I listened more closely. I felt like I could answer even if I didn't speak out loud. In my heart, I started saying the answers in English, quietly, like a whisper. I knew I was getting ready, I just needed a little more time. Then, one evening, something special happened. I was practicing in my room, standing in front of the mirror like always. I was talking about my day, describing what I ate for lunch and what homework I had. Then I heard a sound at the door. It was a soft knock. My little brother, Alex, peeked in. He looked at me with wide eyes and said, "Anne, were you talking in English?" I felt my cheeks turn red. I didn't know what to say. I thought he would laugh or make fun of me. But instead, he smiled and said, "That was cool. Can you teach me?" I looked at him, surprised. "You want me to teach you?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah, I want to learn English too. Can we play a game or something?" And just like that, a new part of my journey began. I was no longer speaking only to myself. I had my first speaking partner, my little brother. That night, we sat on the floor of my room with a notebook between us. We played a guessing game in English. "What's your favorite animal?" I asked. "Is it big? Is it fast? Does it fly?" He laughed and answered in short English words. We didn't worry about grammar. We just tried to speak. Practicing alone had made me brave. It gave me the courage to try with someone else. I never planned to teach my brother, but life has a funny way of showing us the next step when we're ready. That small knock on my door changed everything. I wasn't just a girl talking to herself in a mirror anymore. I was becoming someone who could speak and share English with others. And that's how I moved from speaking alone in my room to speaking with my little brother every single day. That night, after my little brother, Alex, knocked on my door and asked if he could learn English with me, I felt something shift inside me. Until that moment, I had been walking this journey alone, standing in front of my mirror, talking to myself in soft whispers, trying to build my courage, trying to believe that I could one day speak English like the confident people I watched, on TV or in school. But now, someone else wanted to be part of that journey, and not just anyone. My own little brother, the boy who had always followed me around the house, asking questions, telling jokes, and sometimes driving me a little crazy. Now he was looking at me like I had a superpower. And in his eyes, I was not just his big sister, I was his teacher. At first, I wasn't sure what to do. I had never taught anyone anything before, let alone a language. But Alex didn't seem to care about rules or lessons. He just wanted to play. So I decided to keep it simple. That first evening, we sat on the floor of my room, cross-legged, with my school notebook between us. I drew a big smiley face and wrote, "Hello," in big letters underneath it. I looked at Alex and said, "Let's start with greetings. When you meet someone, you say hello or hi. Can you try?" "Hello," he said loudly and proudly. "Good. Now try this. Hello, my name is Alex." He repeated it, giggling a little as he spoke. I smiled. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. He was trying. We kept going. I taught him how to say, "How are you?" and answer with, "I'm fine, thank you." We acted it out like a little play. I said, "Hello, my name is Anne. What's your name?" He answered with a big grin, "My name is Alex." It was simple, like the conversations in my mirror. But now it had life. It had laughter. It had someone to share it with. From that day on, practicing English with Alex became our special routine. Every evening after school and homework, he would come to my room with a big smile and say, Is it time? And I always knew what he meant. Sometimes we practiced with flashcards I made using old index cards. I wrote the word apple on one side and drew a little red apple on the other. We learned colors, animals, food, and numbers. I didn't have any special materials, just my imagination, a notebook, and a few colored pens. But somehow, that was enough. Other times, we played guessing games. I would think of a word and give him clues in English. It's big, it's gray, it has a long nose. He would squint his eyes, think hard, and shout, "Elephant!" When he got it right, we both cheered like he had won a prize. If he didn't, guess I would say the word slowly, and we would repeat it together. We made a deal. No laughing at mistakes, only helping each other. It made both of us feel safe. Alex had a curious mind, and he asked 100 questions every day. Now, I used his questions as practice. "How do you say dog in English?" he would ask. "Dog," I said. "And what about ball?" I would answer with a sentence. "The dog plays with a ball." Then we would say it together. His eyes would light up when he learned something new. I realized that he was learning fast. Not because he had perfect memory, but because we were having fun. We laughed, we acted, we even danced to silly English. Songs we found online. The learning wasn't forced. It was like a game we both loved to play. Some days I pretended to be a customer and Alex was the shopkeeper. I would walk into the store, ask for a toy, and he would say, "Yes, here you go." He would give me an invisible toy and ask for pretend money. We would switch roles and do it again. These small role plays helped us use real sentences in real ways. I didn't even know it back then, but we were building our speaking skills without books, without stress, just by playing together. After a few weeks, I noticed a big change in myself. My mouth no longer hesitated when I spoke. I could say full sentences without stopping in the middle to think about grammar. My voice sounded clearer, more sure of itself. It was like my English words were no longer trapped in my mind. They were free now, flowing out of me like they belonged. I had practiced, alone in silence for so long, but speaking with Alex made the words louder, more natural, more alive. He gave me someone to listen to. He gave me someone to laugh with. Even my confidence at school started to change. In class, when the teacher asked a question in English, I didn't feel frozen anymore. I didn't raise my hand every time, but I looked up. I made eye contact. I whispered the answer quietly to myself. I was getting ready for the day I would finally speak out loud in front of everyone. And that day was coming closer. But it wasn't just about me anymore. I saw changes in Alex, too. His English was getting better. He started using simple English phrases around the house. He would say things like, "I want water, please," or "Look, Anne, big truck," in a loud English voice. Our parents, who didn't speak much English, would smile and say, "What did he just say?" I would translate, and they would laugh. "You're teaching him so well," my mom said one evening, placing a hand on my head. "You're becoming a little teacher." That word, teacher, stayed in my heart. I never thought of myself that way. I was just trying to learn, just trying to get better. But now, I was helping someone else get better too. It felt good. It gave my journey a new meaning. I wasn't just speaking for myself anymore, I was speaking for both of us. I was building a bridge between my world and my brother's. Sometimes we had our hard days. There were evenings when I felt tired from school and didn't want to practice. There were days when Alex was in a silly mood and didn't want to sit still. But even on those days, we found a way. We played short games. We sang songs. We made faces in the mirror and described them in English. "Happy face," I said, pulling my cheeks up. "Angry face," he said, crossing his arms. We turned every moment into practice. Even brushing our teeth became a lesson. "Toothbrush, toothpaste, brush your teeth," we chanted together. Looking back now, I see how powerful those moments were. We weren't just learning a language. We were building memories. We were growing up together in a new way. Our small conversations, our jokes, our games, they were all pieces of a puzzle, slowly coming together. And every time we finished a session, even just 10 or 15 minutes, I felt like we had climbed one more step up the mountain. One weekend, I had an idea. I wrote a short dialogue for us, a simple story about two kids going to the park. I read the lines to Alex, and he practiced with me. Then we acted it out in front of our parents. It was only 2 minutes long, but when we finished, our mom clapped and said, "Wow, that was so good." I saw Alex's face light up with pride. I felt proud too, not because it was perfect, but because we had done it together. That day, I wrote a sentence in my notebook. Speaking English is not just learning words, it is learning to speak without fear. And that sentence stayed with me. Every day I reminded myself, don't chase perfection, chase progress. Don't wait to be fluent. Start with what you have. Speak, laugh, try again, and never stop. Our daily practice became something I looked forward to. It gave me joy, peace, and strength. And it gave me the feeling that I was no longer alone in my journey. My brother was with me, step by step, word by word. Then one day, as we sat together practicing greetings again, Alex looked up and asked, "Anne, do you think we can show this to someone else? Like your friend Olivia?" I looked at him, surprised. "You mean speak in front of someone?" He nodded. "Yeah, I think we're good at it now." I smiled and thought for a moment. Maybe he was right. Maybe it was time to take our speaking practice outside of my room to share it with someone new. And that's how the next part of my journey began, stepping out of the comfort of my room and joining the English speaking club at school. The next morning, I walked into school feeling different. I had a new idea, a new kind of hope quietly growing inside me. What my brother said the night before kept playing in my mind. I think we're good at it now. That simple sentence gave me so much strength. For weeks, I had practiced English inside the four walls of my room, first by myself, then with Alex. But maybe now, just maybe, I was ready to do more. At lunch, I went to the school library to look at the bulletin board where students put up club posters. My eyes scanned across colorful flyers until one bright blue paper caught my attention. It read, English Speaking Club, every Wednesday after school, room 206. My heart jumped. I stood there just staring at it for a moment. I could almost see myself sitting in that room, speaking English with other students, laughing, learning, not feeling scared. But then the voice in my head whispered, "What if they speak too fast? What if you don't understand anything?" I swallowed hard. My fingers touched the edge of the flyer, and I whispered to myself, maybe not this week, but maybe soon. That evening, I told Alex about the club. He was more excited than I expected. "You should go," he said with wide eyes. "You're really good now, Anne, and you can teach them how we practiced." His words filled my heart with warmth. But still, I wasn't fully ready to face a room full of strangers. So I thought, what else can I do to feel more confident? How can I make my English sound better? And that's when something clicked. I remembered how often I had heard English in cartoons, bright, colorful shows with funny voices, fast talk, and silly characters. I had watched them many times before, but I had never really listened, not as a student, not with the purpose of learning. Maybe that was the next step in my journey. So that night after dinner, I sat on the couch with Alex and turned on one of our favorite cartoons, The Magic Zoo. It was a show about animals that could talk, solve problems, and go on adventures together. We had watched it before just for fun, but this time I had a notebook in my hand. I pressed play, and I told myself, listen carefully, don't just watch. Listen, like someone who wants to sound like them. The cartoon started with a cheerful voice. Good morning, everyone. Let's start the day with a big smile. I quickly wrote the sentence down in my notebook. Then I hit pause. I repeated the line out loud. Good morning, everyone. Let's start the day with a big smile. I tried to match the voice, the energy, the sound. Alex giggled. You sound just like the zebra, he said. I laughed too. But deep inside, I knew this was going to work. From that day, watching cartoons became a new kind of classroom for me. Every evening, I chose one episode. I played it slowly, paused often, and repeated the lines. Sometimes I would watch the same short scene, 5 or 6 times, just to catch every word, every emotion, every pause. I started to notice how characters changed their tone when they were happy, sad, scared, or excited. I noticed how their mouths moved when they said different words. I began to copy them, not just the words, but the way they said the words. And something amazing started to happen. My pronunciation improved. I started sounding more natural. The way I said hello changed. The way I said really or okay started to sound more alive, more like a real speaker, not just someone reading from a textbook. Alex joined me sometimes. We acted out entire scenes together, pretending to be the characters. You be the bear, I told him, and I'll be the penguin. We would repeat the lines again and again until we could say them without looking. Sometimes we recorded ourselves on my phone just to hear how we sounded. It was fun. It was silly. But it was working. One evening, I was watching another cartoon, Bobby and the Space Bus. It was about a boy who traveled through space on a talking bus. There was a part where Bobby said, "Don't give up, even when the stars seem far away." That line hit me hard. I paused the video and just sat there for a moment. Don't give up, even when the stars seem far away. It felt like he was talking to me. Like he knew how much I wanted to be fluent, how hard I was trying, how many hours I had spent alone in my room, speaking into the silence. I wrote the sentence in big letters in my notebook and underlined it. That night I said it to myself like a promise. As I continued this new cartoon routine, I noticed something else too. I was learning new words, real, everyday words that people use in conversations. Words like awesome, oops, come on, wait up, let's go, and cool. These weren't words from grammar books. These were words people used when they were excited, surprised, or just having fun. I started using them in my own speaking practice. When I dropped a pencil, I said, oops. When Alex finished his homework early, I said, awesome. When we were ready to go to the park, I shouted, let's go! These small words made my English feel more real. I felt like I was no longer just studying English. I was living it. I also began to pick up sentence patterns. Cartoons repeated a lot of the same structures, and that helped me remember them. Phrases like, what are you doing? I don't know. Are you okay? That's not fair. And let's try again kept coming back in different episodes. I wrote them down, practiced them out loud, and even used them in real conversations with Alex. Soon they became part of my natural speech, but the best part was this. I started feeling confident in how I sounded. Before, I always worried about my accent or making mistakes. But now, after copying cartoon voices again and again, my mouth knew how to move. My ears were sharper. I could hear the rhythm of English better. I didn't speak too fast or too slow. I didn't pause too much in the middle of a sentence. I started speaking like someone who believed in her own voice. One Saturday afternoon, Alex and I decided to do something fun. We wrote our own cartoon script. It was a short story about 2 animals, a rabbit named Rosie and a lion named Leo, who lost their backpacks on a school trip. We wrote 5 short scenes, each with simple dialogues. Then we took turns reading the lines in cartoon voices. We even recorded it with sound effects using a simple app on my phone. When we played it back, we both burst out laughing. We sound like real voice actors, Alex said proudly. That moment was special. Not because we made something perfect, but because we made something together. It showed me how far I had come. A few months ago, I was whispering English alone in my room, scared to even say one sentence out loud. Now I was creating voices, acting scenes, and enjoying every second of it. I was learning in my own way, and it was working. One evening, as we were watching yet another episode, I paused the screen and looked at Alex. "Do you remember when I was scared to speak?" He nodded. "Yeah. You didn't even want to say hello in front of anyone." I smiled. "But look at us now. We speak every day, and we even sound good." "You sound like the girl on TV," he said. "Just like her." That made my heart full. But deep inside, I knew I was still missing something. I had practiced alone. I had practiced with my brother. I had learned from cartoons. But I hadn't yet spoken in front of others, real people, outside our home. And that's when I looked back at the English Speaking Club flyer again, still in my school notebook. Maybe it was time. Maybe the next step was finally walking into room 206 and speaking English with other students just like me. The flyer was still there, bright blue, pinned to the school bulletin board, fluttering slightly whenever someone walked by. Every time I passed it, I slowed down. Sometimes I stopped and looked at it for a moment, pretending to read it for the first time. But the truth was, I had read it more times than I could count. The words were already memorized. English Speaking Club, every Wednesday after school, room 206. That night, as Alex and I cleaned up our cartoon practice mess, papers, snacks, colored pens, he looked up at me and said, "So, are you ever going to go?" I knew what he meant. I didn't have to ask. "To the club?" I asked softly, wiping cookie crumbs off the table. He nodded. "You've practiced enough. You sound really good, Anne. You're ready." I sighed, staring at the floor. The truth was, a part of me was ready, but another part of me still felt nervous. Speaking in front of strangers felt very different from speaking in front of Alex or copying a zebra's voice from a cartoon. What if the students laughed? What if I froze? What if I couldn't say a single word? But then I remembered Bobby from Bobby and the Space Bus. That line, "Don't give up, even when the stars seem far away." I whispered it to myself. Don't give up. The next morning, I made a decision. During my lunch break, I walked past the bulletin board again, but this time I didn't just look. I took out my phone and snapped a picture of the flyer. Then I headed straight to room 206. I needed to know where it was, what the room looked like. I found it down the math hallway. The door was closed, but I stood there for a moment, just breathing. This is it, I told myself. This is where the next chapter of my journey begins. When Wednesday came, I felt like my stomach was full of butterflies. All day I kept checking the time, counting the minutes. My hands were cold. My thoughts were busy. After the final bell rang, I went to my locker slowly, taking my time, giving myself space to decide if I would go or not. I packed my books, looked at my phone, and thought about turning around and going home. But then I heard a voice inside me, soft but clear. "You've come too far to stop now." So I walked to room 206. When I got there, the door was slightly open. I peeked in. The room was bright. Desks were pushed to the sides and students sat in, a circle of chairs in the middle. There were about 10 of them, some chatting, others holding notebooks. A woman stood near the whiteboard smiling and speaking to someone. I took a deep breath and stepped inside. Immediately, the teacher saw me. "Hi there. Are you here for the club?" I nodded nervously. "Yes, I want to join." She smiled kindly. "Welcome. Grab a seat anywhere. I'm Miss Howard." I sat in the last empty chair, trying to steady my breath. I felt like everyone was looking at me, but I kept my eyes on my notebook. My heart was pounding so loudly I could barely hear what Miss Howard was saying. We're so happy to have new students join, she said. This club is a safe space to practice English. No pressure, no judgment, we're all learners here. That helped a little. She started the session by asking everyone to say their name, where they were from, and one thing they liked in English, like a song, a show, or a food. My turn came closer with every introduction. I'm Daniel. I like superhero movies. I'm Fatima. I enjoy English songs. I'm Rosa. I like reading books in English. Then it was me. I stood up slowly. My palms were sweaty. Hello, I said softly. My name is Anne. I'm from here. I like cartoons in English. A few students smiled. One girl whispered, Me too. Miss Howard nodded. That's great, Anne. Cartoons are a fun way to learn. That one sentence from her melted some of my fear. I sat down, shoulders relaxed just a little. Next, Miss Howard gave us a fun activity. She handed out short dialogue scripts, little scenes from daily life. One scene was about buying something at a store. Another was about meeting someone at a park. She said we would pair up, read the dialogues, and try to add feeling and voice. You don't have to be perfect, she reminded us. Just try your best. I was paired with a boy named Jaden. He smiled politely and said, Let's read the one about the ice cream shop. As we started reading, I realized something surprising. The lines were easy. I had said words like these so many times before. With Alex in cartoons in my mirror, Jaden said, What flavor do you want? I replied, Chocolate, please. Then I added a cartoon voice, just a little squeaky and fun. With sprinkles, he laughed. Nice. That sounded like a TV show. I blushed. I've been practicing. You're good, he said simply. Those two words stayed in my mind for the rest of the day. You're good. After the activity, Miss Howard asked for volunteers to perform their dialogues in front of the group. My hands wanted to stay down. My heart whispered no, but my voice said, I'll go. Jaden looked at me. Really? I nodded, standing up with the script in my hand. As we acted out the ice cream shop scene, I used the voice again. The room filled with quiet giggles, not mocking, but amused. Happy. When we finished, Miss Howard clapped. That was wonderful. So much energy. I sat down, smiling for real, this time. The club ended with everyone saying one sentence about what they learned that day. I learned I'm not alone, said one girl. I learned how to ask questions better, said another. When it came to me, I said, I learned that I don't have to be afraid, and I meant it. That night, when I got home, Alex was waiting. Did you go? He asked immediately. I nodded. And? I took a deep breath and smiled. I did it, and I want to go again. He ran up and hugged me tightly. I knew you could. Over. The next few weeks, the English speaking club became one of my favorite parts of the week. Every Wednesday, I walked into room 206 with a little more confidence. I talked more. I laughed more. I listened carefully and shared my thoughts, even if I made mistakes. Miss Howard noticed my progress. One day she said, Anne, would you like to lead a small activity next week? I stared at her. Me? Yes, you. Maybe you could teach us something fun, something that helped you. I thought about cartoons, about acting, about silly voices and repeating funny lines. Yes, I said slowly. I have an idea. The next week, I brought in a short scene from the Magic Zoo and asked everyone to read it like the characters. We all laughed, tried different voices, and had so much fun. At the end, Miss Howard said, That was a brilliant idea, Anne. You made learning fun. Those words were like gold to me. The girl who once whispered words to the walls of her room, the girl who only spoke English with her little brother, the girl who copied cartoon animals just to find her voice. She had now become a leader in her own small way. But the journey wasn't over. I had found my voice, yes. Now, I needed to use it outside the classroom too, in the real world, with people at stores, at parks, and even strangers. And so the next part of my journey was waiting. After a few more weeks in the English-speaking club, I started to feel something inside me change. It was a small change at first, but it was real. I no longer felt like English was just something I was learning. It started to feel like something I was living. The words didn't only live inside my notebook or in cartoons anymore. They were slowly becoming a part of my thoughts, a part of how I saw the world. And that feeling, it made everything feel possible. One day, after school, I was walking home with my backpack bouncing against my back. The sun was warm and the streets were quiet. As I passed the corner store, I felt something unusual. I wanted to go inside, not just to buy something, but to speak, to use English like a normal part of my day, not as a student, not as someone who practiced lines alone in her room, but as a person just living her life. I pushed open the door. A small bell rang above my head. Behind the counter stood a woman with curly hair and kind eyes. She looked up and smiled. "Hi there, sweetie. Can I help you?" I hesitated. This was real. No script, no club, no Alex, just me in this moment. "Yes," I said. I'd like a small bag of chips, the sour cream kind." "Sure thing," she said, grabbing the bag and placing it in front of me. I handed her $1 and some coins. My hand shook just a little. She gave me my change, and then she said, "Your English is very clear, honey. Are you practicing?" I smiled. "Yes, every day." She nodded kindly. "Well, keep it up. You're doing great." I walked out of the store with the chips in my hand and something more important in my heart, a sense of victory. That small conversation gave me so much hope. It was simple, but it made me realize that English didn't have to stay in classrooms or clubs. It could be in everyday life, in little stores, on street corners, in small, casual chats. From that day forward, I decided I would not wait for English time. I would live in English as much as I could all day long. I started with small changes at home. When I woke up in the morning, I didn't just think, "I'm hungry." I said it out loud in English. "I'm hungry. I want toast." I said things while brushing my teeth, getting dressed, packing my bag. I pretended I was in a movie sometimes, narrating my actions like I was a character. "Now I'm putting on my shoes. I can't be late today." It felt silly at first, but it helped me think faster in English, and it made me laugh too. At dinner, I asked Mom if I could help set the table. When I placed the forks and napkins, I spoke the names of the items in English. Fork, spoon, plate, cup. My mom noticed. "Anne," she said gently, "you're speaking English at home now?" I looked at her and smiled. "I'm trying to make it part of my life." She didn't stop me. She just nodded slowly, like she was still getting used to the idea. But she supported me. My dad even started asking me to teach him small phrases. "How do you say this in English?" he'd ask, holding up a tool or a newspaper. We started laughing together over mistakes, and that laughter made it easier. I changed the language settings on my phone to English. At first, it confused me. Some words were new. But slowly, I learned them. My camera, my messages, even my alarm clock, they all became little teachers. My daily tools became my practice space. One weekend, Alex and I went to the park. The weather was perfect. We took a ball and a picnic lunch. As we sat on a bench near the playground, I saw a woman struggling to get her baby's stroller over the grass. I stood up and walked over. "Do you need help?" I asked. She looked up, a little surprised, then smiled. "Yes, thank you. The wheels keep getting stuck." I helped her lift the front of the stroller and guided it to the path. "There you go," I said. "You're very kind," she said. "You speak English so well." I felt my cheeks grow warm. "I've been practicing." As I walked back to the bench, Alex gave me a thumbs up. "You're getting really good at this," he whispered. That evening, I sat by the window in my room looking at the sky turning pink and orange. I thought about how far I had come, from whispering to my reflection in the mirror, to helping strangers in the park. I felt proud, but I knew I still had more to do. So I made a list. A real list, in a notebook with a bright yellow cover. Ways to make English part of my life every day. I wrote, way. Speak to at least one person in English every day. Write a daily journal in English. Read one short article or a page of a book. Watch one video or cartoon and repeat the lines. Think in English as much as possible. Followed that list every day. In the mornings, I wrote in my journal, "Today is Monday. It's raining outside. I want to wear my red sweater." At lunch, I read short news stories about animals or science. In the afternoon, I watched old cartoons and copied the voices. At night, I would replay moments from my day in my head. In English. Sometimes I made mistakes. Sometimes I got stuck. But I kept going. I didn't give up. One day, my science teacher, Mr. Clark, asked me to help a new student from another country. "His name is Amir," he said. "He's still learning English. You could help him understand some of the class lessons." Me? Help someone else with English? I felt nervous, but I agreed. Amir was shy, just like I had been. I sat next to him during class and whispered helpful words in English, pointing to things in his book. I spoke slowly. I smiled often. And little by little, he started smiling back. After a few weeks, we were having real conversations. He told me jokes. He taught me a few words from his language, too. Helping Amir helped me, too. It showed me how much I had grown. I wasn't just learning English. I was using it to make someone else feel safe, welcome, and understood. English was no longer a subject or a scary thing I had to face. It had become part of my heart, my thoughts, and my relationships. Even my dreams started changing. Before, I used to dream in my own language. But one night I had a dream where I was on a stage, giving a speech in English. I don't remember every word I said, but I remember how I felt, strong, calm, proud. When I woke up, I whispered, "I made English a part of my life, and I meant it." That weekend, we visited my grandmother. She doesn't speak English, but she watches English movies with subtitles. She held my hand and said, "I heard you're doing great in English." I smiled. "I'm trying, Grandma." She nodded. "I'm proud of you. I know it's not easy, but you didn't give up." Her words stayed in my heart. Now, when I walk into a store, when I meet someone new, when I write in my journal or talk to my teachers, I do it in English. It's not perfect every time. I still make small mistakes. But I don't hide anymore. I don't run from it. I live in it. And that's when I realized something important. English isn't just about grammar rules or vocabulary lists. It's not about tests or big words. It's about being able to connect, to share your thoughts, to help someone, to make a new friend, to tell your story. English became part of my everyday world. It's in my jokes. It's in my favorite songs. It's in the way I dream, and now I can't imagine my life without it.